support of our ministry.
Good morning. All right, that's a hell of a lot better. Now let me close the shade. We had an autofocus issue. Of course, I might have looked better out of focus. It's hard to say, but that's a matter of opinion. Plus, I need to get my Joel Osteen in to be ready for the morning. No, I haven't showered because I'm going to do my 2-mile walk after this. But, yeah, got to watch Joel. Got to get prepped for the day. Got to be positive instead of negative. If you watch the news, you're going to be negative all the time. All right, election returns. What did we hear from Fox for 2 months, especially Harris Faulkner and Hannity and Carlson, all of them. Even CNN was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to turn out. All this doom and gloom based on polls that, as we're finding out, are absolutely useless. But how many millions of dollars do these people get paid to do polls? And when it's all said and done, might as well be weather forecasters. You cannot sample 2,000 people and say that's how it's going to turn out. And that's what they do. Look at these polls when they come out. When you see the numbers, see how many people they actually talk to. And they just churn them out and churn them out and churn them out. So where are we? Was there this huge red wave because the right was predicting doom and gloom? No. It's still up in the air in the Senate. Okay, so they get that. So Republicans get the House. Well, I guess that's a good thing. What I'm seeing out of these results is how sick people are. And they're so sick of it, they're going to vote for their party no matter what, good, bad, or indifferent. And of course, Biden will come out today and he'll have a victory lap. Well, if you lose the Congress, lose the House, there's no lap. There's no victory. There was no uniting of the country. None of this. And, you know, the Mehmet Oz Fetterman, yeah, I watched some of that debate. And that's just proof that it doesn't matter what your candidate sounds like. You're going to vote for them regardless. It's just it. I mean, my dad had a stroke. I know what he was like after that. He wanted me to actually do his seminars. Well, there's no way I could do that because I didn't have a 100th of the knowledge he did in blasting. I could have read all the books. I could have read everything that he did. But his expertise of going out there and doing it is completely different than trying to teach it. He knew how to do it. I didn't. And I was like, so how would I take questions? Well, you can take questions and then ask me and I'll respond. It's like, Dad, you can't even hear when I'm standing 5 feet from you. How's this going to work over the phone? It wasn't. I'd have loved to have done it. I'd love to have obliged my dad, but he built such a great consulting firm on blasting techniques and safety that let's go out on the plus side and not the negative side. That's what would have happened. But this election, it should be no surprise to anybody. I mean, even Bill Maher was, well, after Tuesday, we can kiss democracy goodbye. Well, what's he going to say Friday? Oh, he's going to come up with some bullshit about why it didn't happen. And then to justify himself, that's all these people want to do. I don't care what network you watch. They all want to justify their poor predictions because no one's going to hold them accountable. You think their producers are? Do you think the network is? No, they don't. And we have seen this, I don't know, for what, the last, let's say 20 years. There's no accountability. Just every once in a while, somebody gets fired. Well, big deal. like another network won't pick him up, like Chris Cuomo. Of course, I tried to watch some of WGN last night, and that was just too painful. We have all this up-to-date information and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. Y'all going to get the information when it comes out. And the only way that comes out is when precincts report. And if precincts don't report, then you don't have a leg to stand on. You got nothing. Nothing but endless hours of babbling. That's it. Just babbling. Yeah, I watched a little bit of Fox today, and they're crawdadding faster than the ones I had in our backyard in Kaufman. Man, don't even stick your head out of the hole because you blew it. God knows what Harris Faulkner is going to make up today. I mean, all of it's just bullshit. That's all it is. We are the voters. We, the voters, decide what's going to happen. I mean, they want to focus on DeSantis and this massive win he had. Well, good for Ron. Good for Ron. But what about all the other races that you all talked about that, well, they're closing in? I mean, Carrie Lake, where is she right now? Well, she's still trailing. I mean, what a crock of shit. That's all it is, folks. That's why I don't watch it. I don't subscribe to it, but I sure the hell criticize it because somebody needs to hold these people accountable. Because they're not going to do it themselves when their whole panel is, no matter what they said the other day, well, they can change today, just like a weather forecaster. Well, it's sunny. Then why didn't we just have a typhoon? Oh, it's going to be 100 degrees tomorrow. Why are we under 2 feet of snow? Well, we didn't quite get the atmospherics right, and in the mid-range levels, the temperature wasn't quite where it needed to be. I remember this, like, what was it, like 20 years ago in Texas, and they were forecasting this horrendous snowstorm. I mean, it was going to be feet, not inches. We're going to get like 1 to 2 feet of snow. We woke up in the morning. All schools had been canceled. This had shut down, and we woke up to drizzling rain. And I remember David Finfrock just scrambling. Well, the temperature in the mid layers it was too warm, and that's why the snow didn't form. Well, okay. Then why didn't you just come out and say, we blew it? Man, we screwed this one. It's the same thing with elections and the press. I mean, they can be wrong 100% of the time, still be employed, still pontificate all their useless opinions. And what do we wind up with? Nothing. But for those who spend their hours whiling away, watching the news, believing everything they say, when they wake up the next morning, they're extremely depressed. They're disappointed. Why? Over what? You're disappointed and disgruntled because you believe someone's opinion and because they wouldn't give you the facts. All right. I do want to look at the Georgia race because I've been talking about this. Well, let's go back to the general election of 2020. 4,952,440,000 people voted in the Senate race, which became a runoff between Warnock and Perdue. In the midterms right now, let me make sure I got my notes right. It was the runoff in Georgia. 3,835,632,000 voted. That's a difference of 1,116,808. Now, this is before the new Georgia law, the voting law, went into effect, okay? In this midterm, 4,387,322 voted. That's 551,690 more I guess the voting bill wasn't as damaging as they touted it to be. Obviously not. 551,000 more votes. And in Georgia, you have to get 50% of the vote. If not, there'll be a runoff. And this is what happened after 2020. Neither Warnock nor Purdue got the required 50%, so they had the runoff. And it looks like that's where we're headed again. Okay. But those numbers are critical because of all the squawking and squallering and carrying on and hooting and hollering from the left and the activists and the ACLU about how damning this new Georgia voting bill was going to be. Wrong. You don't believe me? Look up the result. Becomes Republican. Okay. And the Senate becomes a tie because there's still 4 states that are too close to call. This is no surprise. We're only 2 years removed from Trump. We're 2 years into Biden. And I've said this countless times on my radio program, on BBS Radio, on Dawson's Domain, that America hasn't changed overnight. This isn't going to be like the Reagan wave after Carter or Nixon's resounding wins after LBJ. It is what it is. And, you know, I'm looking at Fox. Fetterman victory narrows GOP path to Senate majority. So what? It's done. It's over. Mehmet Oz, not a resident in New York. Now that needs to change. You know, whatever state you're from, that's the one that you run in. You don't change your address just so you can run for office. You know, we saw that in Texas, especially West Texas, and some in the DFW area when it came to football players. As long as you got an address in that area, you can play for that team. Doesn't mean you have to live there. You just set up residence. That needs to change. Where do you live? Where do you work? Where do you reside? You're just not going to move in with someone and say, and claim state citizenship. No. That'd be like me getting an address in Alaska and running for governor living in Dallas. You really think I know what the hell's going on in Alaska? No. I don't think I'd have Sarah Palin as a running mate, but that's irrelevant. But this is such crap. And, you know, they wanted to say what hard hitting and up to date coverage. The coverage is only up to date based on when the precincts report. That's it. That's all you can do. And if they don't report, you can't report it. But you can speculate it until the cows come home, just like forecasting the weather. I don't need a computer. I don't need all of these Doppler radars. Hell, I'll look outside. Doesn't look good. I can look at a radar and like the World Series, they couldn't decide. Just like the Yankees had a game that was postponed. Well, what radar were they looking at? I'm looking at it. It's gone. It's moved out. You can play ball today. So I don't know who's running these shows, but God, they appear to really lack brains. It's all knee-jerkpedia, and I've talked about this, just knee-jerkpedia. Nobody wants to be patient. Nobody wants to take time and analyze anything. They just want to be right. And in fact, Chris Cuomo said that last night, that what a crock of shit, too. Talk about a hypocrite. that, well, we don't want to be right. We want to be accurate. So we're not going to report until we know. So needless to say, I didn't watch his coverage, but I go back to all of the things that he accused Trump of with no basis whatsoever. Nothing. They didn't care. He didn't care about being accurate. He just wanted to be first. And that's what all of them want to do. They all want to be first with no substance. Because if they're wrong, oh, we can just do a minor retraction just before a commercial break when nobody's listening because they're flipping channels. Kind of like in a paper. If you put out an article that turns out to be false, yeah, good luck seeing that on the front page in big, bold, black script that we were wrong. No, you'll find it buried somewhere on page 25 or 30 or hidden in an obscure ad that they know no one's going to read. Well, we retracted that. Where? I can't see it because you're not supposed to. They don't want you to because they don't want to admit they're wrong. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've talked about. I've hammered it on my radio show, not show, my radio broadcast, that raise your hand. And that's what I would tell my men. Because if I make a mistake, I'll be the first to raise my hand. I'll take the heat and I'll explain what happened because I'm not going to run from it. But if you make a mistake, you damn well better come out and tell me. Because if it comes around the back door and broadsides me, you're going down. You make a mistake, come tell me. That way I can deal with it. I can prepare for it. And I'm always reminded of the day that I called my superintendent and a foreman in laying this line. Do not lay it in a particular spot because there was a brand new drainage system in there. I drive down the road. And what do I see? I see plastic pipe flying out of the ground. But I'm mad, excuse me, I am mad as a hornet. And I call those two sons of bitches up and I say, I want you in my office now. No, it wasn't the office. It's, get over here now. And they just look at me and go, what's the problem? I said, see all that plastic pipe? Well, yeah. I said, what did I tell you? Did I not tell you to go 50 feet up the slope? Well, yeah, but, and they just blow. I said, shut the hell up. So I went back to the office. I got with the general contractor. I got all the specs. I already put an estimate together. I called to my boss and said, this is what we just did. This is what it's going to cost us to repair that. And he's like, really? Well, I haven't heard anything about it. I said, because I'm telling you first. It's already in motion. I've already ordered the material. It's going to be here in 2 days. And those guys are going to do this and they're not going to get paid. So really? And I said, hey, Jeff, we got to pay him. I said, well, figure something out because I directly told them not to do it. For me, well, that fell on me and I was accountable. News anchors are not accountable. They can just continue to blah, 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 blah. And here we're seeing the results of it. So now we're going to have endless weeks of analysis, which is useless. And what's even worse is now, since Fox is pretty much the only right-wing network per se, well, now they're going to switch their focus to 2024. I guarantee you, you watch this. That's all they're going to talk about for the next 2 years is 2024. And it looks like Hochul won in New York. Well, that's not a shocker, is it? But if you'd have been watching the networks, oh, well, Zeldin was closing the gap, closing the gap, closing the gap. Well, voters closed the gap. And where did they get their information? Oh, that's right. They polled 2,000 people out of a million. That's a real good sample, isn't it? No, it's not. So all of this is what it is. I don't care. I voted. from what I can see, I think most of the people I voted for won. Some of them didn't. Okay. Well, that's not going to dictate how my day goes because I got my Joel Osteen. I'm in good spirits. I'm getting ready to do my 2-mile walk. And I like watching Joel because when I walk, I have one prayer, heal my heart, mind, body, and soul. And I say that all through my 2 miles. Because I'm not letting outside influences, especially the news, dictate how I'm supposed to feel. Well, you all have a good week. And last note, this is the day that I'm going to make the decision if I continue Dawson's Domain on BBS Radio 1. I've got 2 subscribers. That doesn't pay the bills. If you want to subscribe, because I need to get it up to where I'm bringing in at least $200 a month to cover the costs of the broadcast. I've really enjoyed doing it for 2 years, but if there's no support, there's no support. So we move on to other ventures. But if you want to subscribe to it, go to BBS Radio. Not BBC, but BBS Radio. Pull it up, find Dawson's Domain, and it'll give you an option on like 5 different levels of subscription. That's all I have. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to you later.